Alan Alda made people laugh for 11 years as Hawkeye Pierce on MASH *, but behind the scenes, he was carrying pain that would stay with him for decades. Now, he's revealing what really happened, the co-star who left because of him, the episode that caused tension among the cast, and the heartbreaking story that was too intense for television. This is the untold story of MASH star. Alan Alda was born on January 28, 1936, in New York City. His full name was Alfonso Joseph d'Abruzzo. His father, Robert Alda, was an actor and singer, while his mother, Joan Brown, had once won a beauty pageant. From the beginning, Alan's life was connected to show business. His father performed in vaudeville and burlesque, so Alan spent much of his childhood backstage, watching comedians, dancers, and musicians perfect their craft. It was an exciting world, but it was also unpredictable. His father's work required constant travel, making family life unstable. When Alan was 7 years old, he faced a serious health challenge. In 1943, he contracted polio, a disease that left many children permanently disabled. The only treatment available was painful. It involved wrapping his limbs in hot woolen blankets every hour to help his muscles recover. His parents couldn't afford a nurse, so they performed the treatments themselves, working tirelessly to ease his pain. For a time, he could barely move, and at one point, the only part of his body he could control was his left arm. The experience left a lasting impression on him. He saw how much his parents sacrificed for him and learned how to push through pain even when things felt hopeless. That resilience stayed with him for the rest of his life. His mother's struggles added another layer to his childhood. Joan Brown was elegant and poised, but she battled mental health issues, which sometimes created tension at home. Growing up, Alan learned to read people's moods and adjust accordingly. This skill would later shape his approach to acting. When he decided to pursue a career in entertainment, he made a symbolic change to his name. He took the first 2 letters of his father's first name, Alfonso, and the first 2 letters of his mother's last name, Brown, creating Alda. It was a simple, memorable name that still carried a connection to his parents. At Fordham University in New York, he didn't just focus on academics, he threw himself into acting. He joined the university's radio station, WFUV, where he worked on radio plays and learned how to bring characters to life using only his voice. His time in college wasn't just about performing. During his junior year, he studied in Paris and acted in Rome, which exposed him to different styles of theater and deepened his understanding of storytelling. Back in the US, he kept honing his skills, joining the Compass Players and later Second City in Chicago. These improved groups pushed him to think quickly, trust his instincts, and stay in the moment, skills that would serve him throughout his career. In the late 1950s, Alda received a grant from the Ford Foundation, allowing him to work at the Cleveland Playhouse. He performed in multiple productions alongside experienced actors, which helped him grow as a performer. Around the same time, he was still dealing with the lasting effects of polio. Though he had recovered, the experience had shaped his outlook on life and made him more determined than ever. His Broadway career took off in 1959 with Only in America. That was just the beginning. In 1961, he starred in Purlie Victorious, playing Charlie Kochapee. Then, in 1964, he took on a lead role in Fair Game for Lovers, a romantic comedy that showcased both his charm and comedic timing. This performance made people take notice of his talent. Around this time, he also started appearing on television. He joined That Was the Week That Was, a satirical news program that ran from 1964 to 1965. It helped him sharpen his comedic skills and introduced him to a wider audience. That same year, he took on a bold role in The Owl and the Pussycat, playing Felix, the owl, opposite Diana Sands. The play became famous not just for its humor but for breaking barriers. Alda and Sands, who was black, shared a kiss on stage, which was rare at the time and sparked controversy. They even received hate mail, but Alda never shied away from challenges, whether on stage or off. In 1968, he transitioned to film with Paper Lion, playing journalist George Plimpton, who goes undercover with the Detroit Lions to experience professional football from the inside. The role allowed Alda to balance humor and drama, working alongside real-life football players like Alex Karras and Joe Schmidt. 2 years later, he took on a more serious role in Jenny, starring opposite Marlo Thomas. The film followed a young man and a pregnant woman navigating an unexpected relationship. It was a smaller project, but it proved that Alda could handle dramatic material just as well as comedy. Despite these successes, Alda struggled to find stability in the late 1960s and early 1970s. He bounced between small television roles, trying to make ends meet. He appeared on game shows like What's My Line? And I've Got a Secret, and he landed guest spots on The Phil Silvers Show, and That Was the Week That Was. However, none of these roles gave him the big break he needed. People in the industry recognized his talent, but he had yet to land the role that would make him a star. Then, everything changed. Alan Alda became a household name when he was cast as Captain Benjamin Franklin Hawkeye Pierce in MASH Star. The show ran from 1972 to 1983 and followed the lives of doctors and nurses at a mobile army hospital during the Korean War. It wasn't just another sitcom, it blended humor with deep, emotional storytelling, tackling war, loss, and the human condition. The role of Hawkeye allowed Alda to showcase his comedic timing while also delivering powerful, dramatic performances. His time on MASH * was life-changing, but behind the scenes, there were struggles, conflicts, and stories the public never knew until now. The show was about war, but it didn't focus on battles. Instead, it told the stories of people trying to survive in an unbearable situation. Humor became their way of coping with the horrors around them. No one embodied this better than Hawkeye. He was an exceptional surgeon, but he never took authority too seriously. He used jokes, played pranks, and challenged every rule that didn't make sense. Beneath all of that, he deeply cared. He couldn't stop the war, but he could save lives. His name, Hawkeye, came from the last of the Mohicans. In that story, the character was brave and resourceful, and in MASH *, Alan Alda's Hawkeye lived up to that reputation. He fought his own battles, not with weapons, but with a scalpel and his words. He stood up for his patients, argued with his commanders, and did whatever he could to keep himself and his friends from losing their sanity. His sharp wit made audiences laugh, but his moments of anger and heartbreak made them feel the true weight of war. Alda's performance made Hawkeye the heart of the show. Some cast members felt that the focus had shifted too much toward his character, but audiences couldn't get enough. MASH * became one of the most popular shows on television. It wasn't just entertainment, it carried a message. The show aired while the Vietnam War was ongoing, and although it was set during the Korean War, its message was clear: war was cruel. It didn't just cause physical wounds, it destroyed people in deeper ways. As the series progressed, Alan Alda took on more creative control. He wasn't just acting, he was also writing and directing. His biggest achievement came in the final episode, Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen. He co-wrote and directed it, creating an unforgettable ending. On February 28, 1983, millions of people tuned in to watch the last moments of MASH Star. The numbers were record-breaking, over 105 million people watched live, with the total audience reaching 121 million. It became the most-watched television broadcast in history at that time. The finale was more than just a goodbye. It reflected everything the characters had endured. It captured their exhaustion, grief, and desperate attempts to hold on to their humanity. Some moments were funny, while others were heartbreaking. The war was over, but no one left untouched. Alda ensured that every scene carried emotional weight, making every farewell feel real. For nearly 3 decades, no scripted show came close to matching its viewership. Alda's influence on MASH * went far beyond its final episode. He helped shape the show's identity. He ensured that it wasn't just about making people laugh, it made them think. War wasn't just about soldiers and strategies, it was about doctors trying to save lives and people forced into situations they never asked for. Alda believed that humor was the best way to tell these stories. Laughter could make the unbearable a little lighter, but the show never let audiences forget the reality behind the jokes. As Alda's role in shaping MASH * grew, so did tensions behind the scenes. Some cast members felt that the show focused too much on Hawkeye. His presence was undeniable, and his influence was immense. Wayne Rogers, who played Trapper John McIntyre, was one of the first to feel this shift. When MASH * began, Trapper and Hawkeye were meant to be equals. Their friendship was the heart of the show, and Rogers expected his role to reflect that. However, as the series went on, Alda's character took center stage. Rogers felt that Trapper was becoming a sidekick rather than a co-lead. Although he had no major personal conflicts with Alda, he found it difficult to stay. After 3 seasons, he decided to leave. His departure was abrupt. Trapper was simply gone, with no emotional goodbye for fans to process his absence. In 1979, Rogers got another chance to play a version of Trapper in Trapper John, MD, this time as the clear lead. Meanwhile, MASH * introduced a new character, BJ Honeycutt, played by Mike Farrell. BJ was softer, more grounded, and a different kind of partner for Hawkeye. The show continued to evolve, proving it could survive major cast changes. Years later, Alda and Farrell found themselves in a creative debate. It happened in Season 7 during the episode Preventative Medicine. The story followed Hawkeye as he made a drastic choice. He wanted to remove a reckless commander's appendix, not because the man was sick, but to prevent him from sending more soldiers to their deaths. BJ refused to take part, believing it was an ethical violation. Their disagreement wasn't just in the script, it was real. Farrell believed that BJ would never support such an action, while Alda argued that Hawkeye would. Their debate strengthened the episode, making it more thought-provoking. Instead of presenting a clear right or wrong, the story left viewers with a difficult question: does preventing harm ever justify doing something unethical? Hawkeye went through with the surgery, but instead of feeling like a hero, he was haunted by his decision. By the time MASH * reached its final episode in 1983, the show had changed. It was no longer just a comedy, it had become something much deeper. The series finale, Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, remains one of the most watched TV episodes in history. At the center of it was Hawkeye's breakdown, a storyline inspired by real stories of PTSD from soldiers who served in Korea. Alda, who co-wrote and directed the finale, wanted to show the lasting effects of war. Hawkeye had always been the quick-witted, sharp-tongued surgeon, but now he was unraveling. A repressed memory resurfaced, revealing the full weight of his trauma. At the time, PTSD wasn't widely understood, and many veterans suffered in silence. MASH * brought the issue into the spotlight. When MASH * ended in 1983, Alan Alda didn't slow down. After spending over a decade playing Hawkeye, he was ready for new challenges. He stepped into directing while still acting. One of his first major films as a director was The 4 Seasons, 1981, a film he also wrote and starred in. It followed 3 couples who vacationed together every year, exploring how their friendships and marriages changed over time. It wasn't just a light-hearted comedy, it had depth and honesty. Audiences connected with it, and critics praised Alda's ability to tell meaningful stories. He had proven he was more than just an actor, he was a storyteller.